Well, first of all, thank you, Susanna. Thank you, Keith. Yeah. Thank you, Susanna, Claudio, Marianne, Betty. Uh, uh, Tucorin is reaching a new phase right now, and we have to follow new steps. And because of that, it's very important to speak about it. It's also very important to listen. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share our experience. Well, this is Tucorin. Tucorin is a contraction of a Portuguese word called Tucorin, Turismo Comunitário no Rio Negro, or community-based tourism in the Rio Negro. This is the area where Tucorin is located. This whole area in the right side of the map is Manaus territory. Manaus is a huge city in territory, in terms of territory, but only close to that red spot you have a urban concentration. But it's still a big city. You have over 2 million people in Manaus. It's a relatively big city, very industrial. The closest community in Tucorin is 19 miles from the urban concentration, the urban center in Manaus. The farthest one is Nova Esperança. If you follow the way of the river, it's 85 miles. That's what we do when we have to reach the community. It's 85 miles from the community. So you have from Manaus. So you have an idea of how far it is, the extension of Tucorin. You will see all these colors here in the map. Those are conservation units. Much before then, we started with the project of Tucorin. We started with the project of the mosaic of conservation units, and Tucorin is inserted in that area. You have several conservation units, actually 13 conservation units in an area that is much larger than this one that you see here, the size of a few countries. But as we work on in these communities, you can see that still we have a lot of conservation units, and I emphasize that because for every conservation unit, you have one manager. And because of one manager, sometimes this manager has to report to a completely different institution. Sometimes they have to report to a state institution. Sometimes they have to report to a federal institution. Sometimes they have to report to the city of Manaus. So imagine the mess that it can be if you have several people taking decisions over here. Well, we have the Tucorin is divided in two sectors: the south sector, which is closer to Manaus, and the north sector, which is a little bit far from Manaus. Well, to start Tucorin, we had a few challenges. Okay, the first one, as I mentioned previously, was the governance challenge, because you have so many stakeholders. How would you take a decision? How you would choose what would be the right path for the future? So seeing that, IPE started to create a participatory forum, which is a Fórum de Turismo de Base Comunitária, or community-based tourism forum, where everybody could participate. All the managers for every conservation unit, all the official offices from the state, from the city, for the federal administration, and everybody was there taking decisions, hearing the problems of the community. The leaders of the communities were also there. So it was really important to create governance in the area. The other thing is the gaps of human resources. Imagine that you have a huge area. Every conservation unit is normally very big. You have just one person to take decisions of everything regarding economics, in terms of tourism, in terms of agroforestry, in terms of health, education, many aspects. So this person normally cannot know everything about the demands that they have to manage the territory. So for sure you have gaps of human resources, of people who are not, who aren't able to manage things such as tourism. And that was really important for the managers of the conservation units, because if they were able to do a technical partnership in terms of tourism and agroforestry in the region. Also, we offered a lot of courses and forums that would help people to surplus this gap. We had academic basis, a lack of academic basis, and then we started to do partnership with the State University of Amazonas and the Federal University in Amazonas. That was really important for us to collect a bunch of data and also to process the data with the universities. And for sure, we had problems of management issues, structural and technological gaps. And to correct that, to surplus that, we had an intense educational program, technical courses for us, participated in many fairs. That was really important to surplus a few challenges that we had in our way. Day strategy. When we started Tucorin in 2008, we didn't know the strategy as well as we see here in this graph. We just knew that we had to implement the community-based tourism in the region. And in the first time, we started to build the Tucorin infrastructure, the physical investments. We had to prepare the people in the area, work with the governance. But then we started to realize, and that strategy came with the business plan, that we needed to go to a second phase in Tucorin, focusing on the total quality program, and commercial expansion. And of course, to do that, we had to do a lot of economic studies. We had to investigate the return of the investments with investment return analysis. So we are in the second part here, commercial expansion. And our target is to achieve what we call the top of mind, where everybody would know Tucorin, or a lot of people would know about Tucorin. We would have a commercial success. We would have a total quality program established where we would control every step of the service, granting minimum quality to receive the tourists, to be with them, to proportionate a very good experience in the area. And one thing that I put a dream with interrogation there, with a question mark, saying that we wanted the people to be empowered of their administration. Sometimes it can look like a dream, but we have to work on that. Claudio normally says that if you want to be good in what you do, you have to have a goal, right? But if you want to be great, you got to have a dream. And that's our dream, to put people in charge of everything. Our dream is to pass the administration entirely to them. And that's a challenge because sometimes it's our dream too, and we have to transfer the dream. But also we have a whole background that we have to transfer to the people. So that's why it's a very long process. But still, it's in our goal. Our dream is within our goal. As I said, we started in 2008 and 2014. The South sector was operated by the organization Lima da Ju. This is one of our researchers in Lima da Ju, Ruth. And IPE researcher Nayusa was taking care of the operation in the North sector. But also IPE used to command the whole project itself in the territory. And that, the whole process started in 2008 and it extended until 2014, continues in 2015, but with new perspectives. So we wanted to achieve a new commercial approach in which we would have to work for a new scale for the business, empowerment of the local people, and to achieve a total quality program regarding the quality and the standards of the services in Tucorin. To achieve all that, we had to do a lot of research. And I'm just giving you an idea of the data that we had to collect on the field. We have information about the services that the people would offer. We have information of all the inputs, all the costs that were used per service, per person. We have information about the hours that people would have to spend just to offer the service, to prepare the service, to offer the service, and after the service. We had to have information about carbon emissions, water use, so we would understand the environmental impact. And we also processed all the information to have profitability percentages to understand if the service was interesting for every person who was offering, okay? And the return of the investment as well. So after long consideration, we were able to recognize a few issues. Some were negative, some were positive. I'll start with the negative issues. The first one was the scale of business. Tucorin was planned to have a very small scale of business, of tourists. Just 2 tourists per trip, per tour, and that wasn't enough, because if you only have 1 person visiting the community or 2 people visiting the community, you cannot offer a restaurant, you cannot have jungle trails, canoeing, and that wouldn't be able to generate enough income to make this new option of income generation as something that they would embrace. So we had to rethink the scale of business that we thought in the beginning. The other negative issue was the conflicts when everybody participates. At the beginning, we thought that everybody were able to participate of Tucorin. But in the end, we could see that some people wouldn't achieve the standards that we needed to receive the tourists. And in the process, we had to be mature enough to say to a few people, look, this is not for us. This will not work. We need to be mature enough to concentrate in people who are able to receive tourists. This is a big issue, the following one. We need to achieve a new commercial approach that is linked to the new scale of business. At the beginning, we had just institutions saying that Tucorin was good, and everybody within the institutions were visiting Tucorin. But we need a new commercial approach to achieve new people in other segments of the market. And the biggest issue that we had was the personalized touristic routes. It's really good that we go to the Amazon and we have a personalized tour. We can go to waterfalls, visit the communities, have a very wonderful gastronomic experience, but still it's very expensive. Imagine that how we could offer for every couple that visits Tucorin a different experience, a personalized experience. It's like you would have a consultant just to proportionate for you an extreme and wonderful experience in the Amazon. That's very expensive. That demands a lot of human resources, and we didn't have that amount of human resources, and that wouldn't work for the sustainability of the business at that time. So we started to change that understanding and stop the personalized touristic routes. We had lack of empowerment of locals in the administration. Still, that's a big issue that we understand that we will have to work with that for a long time. But the idea that we have for the new steps in Tucorin, the new phase of commercial approach, we want to put people in charge of more things that we used to do in the past. And the last negative thing is that considering that you have conservation units, sometimes you have to do a paperwork to come to the place, to come to the territory. Most of the people didn't used to do that. Nowadays, Tucorin is the only one who does that. And I don't say that because we are the only project that is able to do it. Everybody can do it, but only Tucorin proportionates a legal interest in the territory. Okay. Well, positive aspects, the price policy. You have many agencies working in the area, but only Tucorin is the one that everybody agrees that the price is the best one. We could understand that all the prices had a very good profit margin. So it was really good. And the communities used to say that to us. That's the best price that we have, the best price policy. Sometimes even the price wasn't the higher price, but still the policy of the price that we established was the best one for them. Very low environmental impact. As I said before, we evaluated the carbon emissions, which is close to 0, and the water use. The water use is a big issue in ecotourism, but still it's very low. If you understand the impact for person, or for 20 people, or for 30 people, still is very low. So that's our how we could manage how big the scale could be. So if we achieve like 30 tourists per tour, if you have like 3 tours per month, that would still have a very low environmental impact in terms of water use, and in terms of carbon emissions, it's really close to 0. Okay. Well, trust. trust and governance are very close to each other. As we used to manage the participatory forum, as we used to have a very good price and low environmental impact, all the institutions are very close to IPE. All the institutions there respect IPE. All the institutions and the community leaders respect us. So we have this trust, which is a very good asset for the project. I have talked about the governance, and of course we have engagement of the stakeholders, which is also a reflection of the trust that they have in IPE work in the territory. And one last thing that I would like to point is the motivation and the self-confidence of every person that supplies services in Tucorin. If you analyze the scale of business, the amount of income that they receive per year, that wouldn't pay for a long time the investment that they did in the beginning. But still, they don't just put the monetary income in the final analysis, but also their self-confidence. Their self-confidence in sharing their culture, their motivation to show the people how they live, how they work, how is their day by day. That's very important for us and for them. That was really big, and you can feel that when we were doing the research that we did that I showed. Okay, please. Well, if we want to achieve a new commercial approach, we need to understand the marketing positioning principles. We are not a large-scale business, so we have differences in prices and time. We have a very different experience and interaction to the nature and the people. So I would like to do a metaphor. Imagine that you have a person who goes to a grocery store, and this person buys organic food. This person is willing to spend more time buying, more time using, more time preparing, and more time eating the food. This person is willing to pay a little bit more because they understand that they will have a better experience and they would have a better interaction to the people around. So if you have this in idea, now try to understand how a person who goes to a fast food restaurant thinks. This person goes to the line, waits 5 to 10 minutes there, doesn't want to wait much, just order. They don't have to explain the food that they want, they just give a number, and 5 to 10 minutes later they have their food. It's a completely different experience, and of course you have different types of consumers and different types of suppliers in that process. So if you look at tourism, at the market of tourism in the world, you have a very low scale tourism and a very large scale of tourism. A very low scale tourism is the community-based tourism, because you have just a few people visiting the community. But a very large one would be those huge amount of tourists that visit Paris or Buenos Aires or Rio de Janeiro every year. Who hasn't had the experience of going to a city tour where you would have the time to ship, or you would have the time to get the bus, you would have the time to live the bus, you would have the time to buy souvenirs, to buy ice cream, and return to the bus, and then return to the hotel. It's very close to the idea of the fast food restaurant. You have everything planned in a schedule, but you don't have much time to live the experience. So the lower the scale of the business is, the more experience you have. Okay, so Tucorin is closer to the small scale compared to the people who buy organic food in grocery stores. That would be the profile of our customers. The first problem that we faced, the first challenge that we faced at the beginning, was the scale of business. So to improve that, instead of working with people who were going to visit the houses within the community, they were able to visit the houses and to stay there, but they would have like hubs, sort of hubs where they could receive more people. So we have 2 hubs in the north sector, in Nova Esperança, one in Nova Esperança and one in Bela Vista do Jaraqui, and one hub in São João do Tupé. Every hub can receive from 12 to 35 people at once per tour. So with this amount of people visiting the community per tour, we were able to offer more people. You would have more tourists, more services, and then you would have more suppliers. It's a classical thing in economics where you have more demand creating more suppliers. Okay, so you have more tourists, more services. People would be interested to get into the business and be new suppliers to Tucorin. And that's what happened. We are now achieving new business scales, respecting the environmental impact, keeping the environmental impacts in a very low scale. I'm going to give you an idea in images, in a few phrases. You can have the presentation to see the details, just for you to understand the wonder of Tucorin. Okay, this is São João do Tupé. It's one of my favorite places there. You can see why. São João do Tupé is the community closest to my house. It works as a hub as well. You can have a posada there. It's Gloria Inn. It receives 12 to 16 people, if I'm not mistaken. You have indigenous presentation, and from São João do Tupé, you can also access two other communities, which are Colônia Central and Julião. Colônia Central, by the way, is the only community that you cannot access by a boat. You have to walk, so you have a lot of jungle trails. Very interesting, very interactive, very, very good. More pictures. And then the second solution that we had to face was regarding the challenge of the personal touristic routes. For me, that was the inferno, because that was hell, because it was really difficult to administrate. Sometimes the IPE technician, the IPE researcher would be in the phone for a few days just to negotiate one visit. And that doesn't pay the hours of the IPE researcher. And that doesn't give enough income to the community, so we had to rethink where we would concentrate our efforts to generate more income. So instead of doing personalized routes, we created a lot of pre-formatted routes, like a combo. I don't like this word, but I believe that most of the people understand the combo as something that they have already prepared, and they can choose something on the shelf with a price. So for the mind of the consumers, it would be easier to choose if you have an idea of products and prices. Okay, still they can change a few things in the tours for every tour, every code or every combo, but mostly they have a one pre-formatted product that they can choose instead of creating new tours to the Amazon within the Tucorin. So the person who is selling would not have to create a tour. The person just had to describe the options of tours that they have. That's more effective. The third solution that we had to create to the challenge of administration was the empowerment of local people. To do that, we had to create an association. This association of the entrepreneurs in Tucorin hasn't been created yet, because you have a lot of bureaucracy and things that you have to administrate. But the idea is that the association would process all the sales, all the operational issues in Tucorin. As we don't have the association yet, we can work with agencies, and the agencies will pass the payments to the association. Although the association is still informal, they don't have a tax ID. The benefit of this new sales procedure is that you can accept credit cards. In the past, the tourists would have to carry all the money with themselves and pay every supplier. That would be very confusing. That was very confusing. And then nowadays, they just have to carry the money that they want to carry if they want to buy extra things besides the things that are within the routes that they had in contract. We had to establish a few rules to orientate the clients and the people who are selling. we had to establish that we would only receive groups of 3, 5, and 10 people, or multiples of that. We had to create a cancellation policy. Most of the people used to cancellate just a few days before they were supposed to arrive. That was a big issue, so we had to create a cancellation policy. Individuals who wish to go by themselves either contract a full price or wait for a group. That's only available at Tupé, Bela Vista, and a room in Nova Esperança. Most of the accommodations are on HEMA and on house. Every route includes travel insurances. Before they didn't have travel insurances, now they do. Transportation goes from the pier in Manaus to the communities and then returning to Manaus. Health aspects of the tourists are verified. In the past, it was verified. It was a good thing that was done in the past, but nowadays we have a procedure to verify the age, the diseases, the vaccines that they have taken. Legal entrance in the territory is now only made by Tucorin. It's not that we are the only project that can do it. Everybody can do the legal entrance, but we are the only project that fills up all the paperwork, which is huge. Finance analysis pointed that the project needs $85,000 along 3 years of operation, considering cash flow and fixed investments. And to have an idea why we need this $85,000, I gave you a graph of income in time. If you work with a sustainable activity, you will notice that normally the income will be very low at the beginning, but will be high and be maintained in the future. The problem is that people don't want to wait for the first gap that they have at the beginning. So they start to deplete the natural resources. Okay. They have to deplete the natural resources with traditional activities. So as long as they deplete the natural resources, they don't respect the natural resources to be renewed, the operation is more costly. And as it's more expensive, their income starts to drop. And to maintain their income, they achieve new areas, and then deforestation and degradation starts. So instead of continue with that, let's focus on the sustainable activities and try to incorporate finance options to bring the income from the future to the present time. In practice, we would have to anticipate the income in the future to grant that the people would remain in the business, the sustainable business. Another solution was to create a website, still in Portuguese. We would like to have a website in English, but it will come. We are working with new social media as well, and other media. Since 2008, we had a lot of brochures, banners. We participated in a lot of fairs. That was very rich in terms of materials. This is the north sector. This is Bela Vista community. They work as a hub as well. They can receive 35 people. It's huge. It's huge. They have a jungle camping. You can sleep within the jungle. It's really good. They have jungle trails and the natural swimming pool, which is beautiful. You go through a canoe. You have a small jungle trail of 10 to 15 minutes, and then the resident receives you there. They have fish in the morning, and they prepare fish barbecue for you while you can swim in the swimming pool with very chilled water in the middle of the heat of the Amazon. It's paradise. This is Nova Esperança community. It's also a hub. This is the restaurant that IPE helped to build. And it's working. It was working even before it was built, it was finished. While it was being constructed, people were visiting the restaurant and eating there. So famous that it was. And nowadays it's really beautiful. Just for you to have an idea, it involved a lot of meetings with the community to decide where it would be located within the community, the resources that would be involved. We involved the architecture department in the Federal University of Amazonas to do all the how do you call it, curriculum, all the plans, and it's our best restaurant in the, to be very honest with you, nowadays, because of the infrastructure that they have, and of course the food is terrific. Nova Esperança, again, they work as a hub. They have this communitarian restaurant. They have a hammock hostel. They have also one room with a double bed. They have jungle trails, handicrafts. They have farinhada presentation, which is many of flower presentation, and canoeing trail as well. And through Nova Esperança or Bela Vista, you can access San Sebastián, where we have a social work with the Club of Mothers, where they cook, they prepare candies, they prepare cookies. They receive a lot of chefs that they has brought to the place to improve the quality of the products and the prices as well. And this is it. Thank you very much, and I'm open for questions.